Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Luli Gaggle podcast. Today, we have another day in the life episode for you, walking through a wellness routine, getting down to the supplements, the daily routines, the workouts, all of it that helps keep someone feeling their best. And I don't know about you guys. I feel like I am saying this a million times, but I love these episodes so much. I find them so interesting. And today we have one that is a little different from the others because we have our first male guest on. So today we are going to be chatting with James Coppola. He is fabulous on social media. He is an online fitness coach, exercise science graduate, former corporate gym trainer. His career is also really interesting, I think, and the co-founder of Zero Shortcuts Fitness Training. And he has been in the fitness space for nearly 20 years, and he doesn't have a typical transformation story like a lot of people. He's very open about his struggle with severe body dysmorphia and eating disorders and just the traps of toxic diet culture that a lot of times we kind of associate with women mostly. But I just thought it was so interesting how his story unfolded and kind of everything that has gone into that. And just from a male perspective, I just think it's so interesting. And he's just so fabulous. You guys, if you're watching the video on YouTube or you know him from social media, he is this like very built, strong, muscular guy who would look like someone from like a gym who's just like this gym bro, right? He is the kindest person, my Lanta. And that's one of the things that he does on social media is calls out a lot of the misinformation in such a kind way. You guys are going to absolutely love this conversation. We will link where you can find him below. Make sure that you give him a follow. But in this episode, we're going to dive into his journey from quote unquote fat kid to coach, how he structures his wellness routine, workouts, mindset, movement, his approach. We get very, very nitty gritty on things like fiber, protein, and supplements, how he balances family life and coaching, creating content, and also just the mindset shifts that help him stay grounded in, yes, his wellness routine, but just also as a person in general. And if you guys had the Luli app, we do have an extended Q&A with James in there. Go check it out. If you don't have the app yet, you can do a free 7-day trial and give it a listen. It is, again, just such a continuation of this. We're going to get his favorite protein powders, and we just ask like the really, really nitty-gritty questions on there. So be sure to give that a listen. And a friendly reminder, if you do enjoy what you hear in this episode, be sure to let us know, give us a rating and review on whatever platform you are listening to this on. And if you are listening in the app with our extended episodes, be sure to hop on over to one of those platforms and just share a rating and review there. It really does help us to make more episodes for you guys with more and better guests as we go. So without further ado, let's dive into this fabulous conversation with James.
I wake up and my main mission is to let people know that this fitness and health thing is not as scary as other people make. It's really important that people know that because I suffered myself for over a decade, even though I have all this education in this field, all this experience, I couldn't get out of my own way. So I'm always very transparent about what it is that I've done, what it is that I'm planning to do, how to help people, how to call out misinformation. And from here, I just really want it to be a safer environment for people to acknowledge that they have value and acknowledge their wins and see that the road ahead of them is not as dark as they think. It's your typical story, just a fat kid who eventually got into shape. I first wanted to play pee-wee football, but I was too big. So my dad signed me up for PTA basketball. It was like the first activity I've ever done. So I immediately fell in love with it, even though I was horrible. I just, even like today, I don't want anyone filming me shooting a basketball. But I sprinted really hard and I tried really hard. And my coach gave me a lot of encouragement. And once I realized, oh, I'm not just lazy and fat and worthless and all that, but then I'm like, all right, now maybe I can try football. I can try wrestling. I can try track and field. And then I did all that. I started having lunch with my like phys ed coaches just to pick their brains. And before I knew it, I was pretty jacked at 15 and 16. I was training people for free. I was going to people's houses with a Bosu ball and bands just to kind of gain experience. I haven't touched a Bosu ball since. And I basically fell in love with it. And I do have ADHD. And I guess you could say that I hyperfixated on this. The empathy aspect and all that, I've always had that. So whatever job I was going to do, I was going to be in line with that. Like, I wasn't that popular, but people still called me to like vent, like on our landline. And
On our landline. Oh my gosh, I relate
yeah,
to that so hard. Everyone who's Gen Z is probably like, "What?"
yeah, right. A phone on the wall with a cord. Yeah. And just I knew that I wanted to get my degree in exercise science. So I got that from Manhattan College. And once I graduated, I quickly just became a trainer in my hometown at Gold's Gym. I became the top trainer there. I knew that I can only grow so much. So I got a job in Manhattan at Crunch. Within a year, I was managing that club. And then I managed the Park Avenue Club. And then once I realized that the corporate world was just not cutting it for me because it was just too salesy and I just hated that I was taking away the love of the job. I just became a master trainer at Crunch 59th Street. And then once COVID hit, we had to take matters into our own hands because we couldn't train in person. So we shifted online in 2020. And this was around the time when I really had to start showing myself and being comfortable.
Mhm.
And that was really hard, especially in the online space. So instead of just trying to fit a certain mold or just trying to hide myself, I was just honest and vulnerable about where I've been and what I went through and how I dealt with massive eating disorders like exercise bulimia, chewing and spitting, going down to 600 calories a day, drinking, binge eating. And you could see my transformation in real time. And you saw me being more comfortable and more open. And even though I was getting a lot of hate, I knew that if I don't accept myself now, then I never will. And I
Mhm.
was just like, I just need to do this. I need to just grind through. And then once I
Mhm.
saw that my message was helping people, it became a bit easier. And also, I love attention, so that helped. So it wasn't long before my content started blowing up. And then I knew exactly who I was talking to and why I was talking to them. And even though I've gone through a lot of hardships, it made me who I am today. And now we do have a thriving business and we live here with our family in upstate New York and everything is going how I want it to be. And it's mainly because I finally gave myself the love and attention that I deserve as opposed to desperately seeking it from people who didn't really care about me.
I can see it in your face, like, just this, like, soft smile that you
Yeah.
have as you're talking. He's living his truth. Okay, I wanna get into your wellness routine. Bring us through.
Okay. My biggest goal is I just want to be a strong, mobile, and fast unit. Right. And however my body looks is how it looks.
Mhm.
That's how I look at this. If I get leaner, so be it. If I don't, so be it. But I know that I'm going to pack on more muscle. I know that my performance is going to grow. And that's what I chase. I chase being able to sleep comfortably, manage my stress levels, not be sore, not be achy, recover properly, and just watch my strength numbers increase. I make a point to tape all my workouts and they never perform well, but I don't care because it's not for other people. I love seeing kind of like a time hop of my workouts over the years and seeing the huge improvements that I'm making. And it's really gratifying because all I used to do with every workout video was look at my problem areas and I could be deadlifting like 500 pounds and I'll be like, God, I look fat. Right. And that's a prison that no one should be a part of. So I take a lot of pride in my strength and workouts that I do about 4 times per week, and I do cardio 2 to 3 times per week. And I make it a goal to walk 10 to 12,000 steps per day. And I get about 200 to 220 grams of protein, 30 grams of fiber, and I fix my relationship with foods. I make cooking fun and exciting, and I give myself the nutrients I need with the items that I want. When I wake up, I just make us the same breakfast as always.
Mhm.
Typically, I always work out right after that. I get that out of the way. Then I go for my first walk with my dog. And then as the day goes on, I have a protein shake and maybe a bar. And then the day goes on, I have some sort of salad and then I have my clients and everything. And then dinner is whatever I want to make at that time. We very rarely have leftovers just because that's my opportunity to just kind of turn off, put on some music and just cook and vibe out. And I just remember back in the day, I just used to like scramble up some egg whites and like some like zucchini and call that like dinner. And I took no pride in it. And it really messed with my relationship with food because it was just fuel.
I feel the same way about dinner where it's like just allow me to just kind of shift gears. Can you talk to us about the protein and the fiber? Also with these numbers, everyone listening, again, his body is not your
Mm,
body.
no.
Can you kind of talk to us about how you navigate that from kind of like a non-diet flexible approach?
Sure. So I look at it as just this is what I need to recover with my workload. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with being skinnier or leaner or more muscular or anything. It's just physically what I feel like I need. So it's just a staple in my diet. So I try my best to know that, all right, from a supplement standpoint, I have at least 50 to 70 grams taken care of from shakes and bars. And I have at least 10 grams of fiber in the morning for breakfast. So I already have a huge chunk taken care of.
Mhm.
And from there, it's really easy to just make sure that any plate or anything that I make, protein and fiber is my first priority. And then I just fill in everything else accordingly.
Mhm.
I'll put in like whatever carb I want. I don't care. And I'll have any indulgence that I want, but I'm not going to eat to the point of feeling sick, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
eat with my eyes. I'm just going to give myself what I need and what I want. And I don't think I've had food guilt for over like 3 years.
I think that's the way to do it when it comes to protein and fiber. It's okay to kind of think about those things. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay to have those numbers, but they don't dictate. It's more of awareness.
right. Right. Like this morning, I'm already at like anywhere between 50 to 60. I know that I'm going to have a shake, which is another 50. So that brings me a little over 100. I'm going to have about 7 to 8 ounces of steak tonight, which is going to be over 50 grams. And then I'm going to have some other meal with about 50 to 60, probably a salad with some sort of beans and
Mhm.
either meat or fish. This became just a norm. And I
Mhm.
do say satiated. It's very rare that I'm like starving unless
Mhm.
I have a giant workload and I kind of like forget to eat. But for the most part, do I expect everyone to eat like this? Just like you said, no, this is what I require. But finding what's relative to you
Mhm.
and just not putting this into a diet mindset, more of a recovery and function mindset could be less toxic and a better approach. And it doesn't mean that you got to have like grilled chicken and broccoli for every meal.
I love that so much. One thing that you said that really stuck out to me was it keeps me satiated. And
Mhm.
sometimes I always say, like, when people say, like, well, I'm never going to like crave veggies or I'm never going to crave protein. Yeah, I really don't necessarily either. But you know what I do crave sometimes is the feeling of being able to sit down for a few hours at work and be satiated and not
Yep.
have to stop for a snack or think about food. Sometimes the driver for making these choices or developing these habits is has nothing to do with like nutrition. It's more of like, okay, this is going to allow me to feel a certain way and that's what I'm wanting. Now, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
When you said you haven't had guilt, are there days or circumstances when it doesn't kind of go like this or as planned and how do you navigate that?
I just know what I do as a whole. I
Mhm.
don't determine my value by isolated incidents like I used to. I
Mhm.
know what it is that I'm capable of and I know what I do consistently. So I just have faith in myself that whatever sent me to kind of go off course, I'll be back
Mhm.
sooner rather than later.
Yep.
And if I let my anxiety run the show and I let my headspace ruin my consistency, then I'm screwed.
Mhm. Yep. Oh gosh,
Well,
I love that. You've such a good
so
head on
many
your
of my
shoulders, and I
clients yeah, just so many of my clients, I always say to them, "Look, at the end of the day, I'm not magic. I
Mhm.
have the tools that a lot of other fitness coaches have when it comes to proper nutrition and exercise and everything like that. Biomechanics are biomechanics, protein is protein, fiber is fiber. The difference here is you're gonna have moments of self-doubt or when your limiting beliefs come creeping back up or old habits and patterns start coming back. I teach you that whatever happened, happened. You can't cry over spilt milk and you still have a job to do that you're committed to. And
Mhm.
it's up to you if you think that you're the person that you're describing or if you want to be the person that you want that you told me you wanted to be.
Mhm.
And it's mainly the fact that they've consistently been trying to lose weight and diet for over the years, but they've been consistently inconsistent with multiple attempts because every time their headspace would go all over the place, their diet would go all over the place. And
Mhm.
then they would start over and then the cycle would repeat. And I basically just let people know, hey, you're doing great, keep going. And they
Mhm.
do. And
Ugh.
before they know it, they're consistent for 6 months and they're like, oh, so this is what actual results like look like.
Can we get into supplements? Can you give us the
Sure.
rundown on those?
Sure. So realistically, I only take what I feel like I need,
Mhm.
and that's a protein supplement based on my required number of protein, creatine monohydrate that I think anyone and everyone could benefit from. Pre-workout, not because I feel like I need it, but because I get so sucked into work that once I take the pre-workout, I don't really have a choice.
What's
That's
in your pre-workout? I know there's so many different kinds.
take the non-stimulant Gorilla pre-workout.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's mainly just because like I'll get really sucked into content or sucked into some admin work, and then before I know it, it's like 7 o'clock. But if I
Mhm.
take it, then I'm like, well, I guess I don't have a choice now. So
Mhm.
I just get my workout out of the way.
Mhm.
I take magnesium. I used to have really massive insomnia,
Okay.
and I had to do a lot to kind of help myself out of that. And magnesium played a big part in kind of just regulating my nervous system.
Mhm.
And as far as any other supplements, I'm open about my TRT. I just use
Mhm.
a topical cream to bring me to basically normal levels. My
Mhm.
testosterone plummeted after all my eating disorders and everything. And besides that, that's pretty much it.
Love that. And that is so real, which we can get into it later and
Mhm.
I can explain it to everyone as well. The TRT and how really having an eating disorder can mess up a lot of different things, systems in your bodies. And this is also individualized too. Some people can
Sure.
have, things normalized, some people might not. Obviously, always talk to your doctor and whatnot. I agree with creatine. I have talked to a lot of people and they have said messes with my gut. Have you ever had any issues with
No.
like intolerance or anything?
No, I take 5 grams a day. I haven't noticed any adverse effects.
Okay, perfect. I have to split mine into 2 doses because I do
Oh, yeah?
notice it. I can't take it at once. I did that one day and I was like, my stomach
Yeah.
kind of feels a little wonky. So, again, guys, everything is individualized. Do what works for you.
I make a point to put away my phone and just either play with Mochi, play with my daughter, be with my wife. It's very, very easy to get sucked in, and we both get sucked into our own realities. And sometimes I have to zoom out and realize
Mhm.
whatever's getting me worked up isn't really real. And I go to what is real, and that helps ground me.
I love that
And
so much.
yeah, I'd say just between client work, cooking, family time, content, that's pretty much my day to day.
Any sort of like, weekly things that you do, meal planning with the family?
So there's this Italian market down the block from me that's walking distance.
Okay.
Plenty of times I walk there and back, not really realizing that I got like $500 worth of stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to farmer carry this back. And it's like a good mile away. But for the most part, I just like to keep it exciting. I have red meat once a week, I have seafood about twice a week, and the rest of the time it's some sort of poultry. And I just take pride in everything that I cook, from the protein to the vegetables.
What's your favorite, if you had to say like your favorite vegetable dish to serve, how to prepare it, what's the go-to?
Probably guanciale, Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
So basically, you just cut up the guanciale, you cook it, and then you take it out, and then you roast the Brussels sprouts with salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, and then you dice up an onion, throw it in, throw the guanciale back, and you can add some honey and red pepper flakes. That's probably something that I could just keep going to over and over.
I am gonna have to try it. I agree with Brussels sprouts, and it's I think that is the perfect example of, like, you eat them plain or raw or, like, what, like, a quote, unquote, "diety," mindset would have you do. Yeah, they're gonna taste like dirt. They're gonna
Yeah, of
taste like
course.
roots. But if you cook them, 'em, they're so good. Let me tell you what, if especially at a restaurant, like, if Brussels sprouts are on the menu, I will order them.
Yeah,
When you
same.
season them, so good.
That's like I once posted my broccoli rabe, and someone was like, "Well, I gotta try that." And someone's like, "James, I really didn't like it." I'm like, "Well, how'd you cook it?" Like, I steamed it. I'm like, "Well, yeah, obviously you didn't like it. That sounds horrible."
Can I ask you one more question about your steps? Is that something that you track? How do you kind of like maintain
Yeah.
flexibility with that?
Basically, I kind of call myself out when I realize that I've been sitting for too long, or I've been sedentary for too long.
Mhm.
And I find that the perfect balance of movement plus not moving is around 10 to 12,000. And I find a way to make that work. And it has nothing to do with burning calories. It has nothing to do with this what I have to do. I want to have a good ratio between being sedentary and not sedentary. That's about it.
I know you've said this, like you can just get into like such sucked into your work where you don't realize how long time goes by. And then you get up and you feel like you just got off like a 4-hour plane ride and you're like, My legs are kind of stiff a
Yeah.
little bit. And it's like, okay, let's kind of like seed in a little bit of movement throughout the day to just,
Mm.
keep the blood flowing and keep things feeling good. So, anything that didn't work for you, I know you said you've tried everything in the books. Is there any sort of wellness trends that you've tried where you're like, yeah, no, that's just not for me?
I've done the HCG diet, which it really was like shitty of this endocrinologist just to be so fast to give me this. It was like $1,500 I didn't have, and they put you on a 600-calorie diet for 21 days plus the HCG shot, and I did lose about 32 pounds in 21 days. I didn't even eat at my engagement dinner because I couldn't.
Oh,
And I gained it all back. I gained it all
yeah.
back because I still didn't learn anything about me. Like I said, I have ADHD and I would just search for dopamine all the time.
Hmm.
And which means I would spend a lot of money I didn't have. And
Hmm.
basically, if I maxed out my credit cards, I would try to consolidate my debt and then like pay it off. And then all of a sudden, I have these vacant credit cards. And then I would ramp them back up because I didn't learn anything about my spending and my impulsiveness. It's the same thing with the diet. I didn't learn anything about my relationship with myself, about how I got to stop chasing these break in case of emergency diets. So I would just have that to rely on. I had to stop living two separate lives. And that's when I decided, like, okay, I'm done dieting. I'm just going to give myself what I need. I'm never going to binge again. I'm never going to eat to the point of being in a food coma. I hated that feeling so much. Like when you take like one more bite and then you automatically nap, like I hated that feeling. And I felt it all the time. And then I would kind of wake up from that feeling and just go run 5 miles. And I thought that this was normal. So, yeah, I don't recommend exercise bulimia to anyone.
Yeah, I would co-sign that statement. I feel like this was such a informative episode. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing your whole story with us. Is there any other nuggets of wisdom that you've learned along the way that you really either want to hit home or share with everyone?
Yeah. Forget about the event that you're trying to lose weight for. Forget about trying to fit a certain mold. You're doing this for life. You're going to be with
Mhm.
yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and your body for life. You got to learn how to be best friends with it. You got to learn how to take care of yourself as opposed to trying to fit a certain mold. And when you let go of
Mhm.
that pressure, you can finally have the time to give yourself the care and attention that you deserve. And
Mhm.
from here, it's so much easier to show up because it's not a chore. You get to work out. You get to have nutrient dense food. You get to sleep better and feel better. And people are always going to have something to say. But at the end of the day, if you know your worth, then you don't have to defend anything.
Love that so much. Thank you so much for, like I said, for being here. Where can everyone follow along with you, get more of your goodness, take in that content? Give us the lowdown.
Sure. Instagram, it's James underscore Cappola, Cappola. TikTok, it's J underscore Cappola underscore fit coach. And YouTube, it's James.Cappola.
Perfect. We'll link to everything as well. Thank you so much for being here. I just loved chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
What a great conversation, right? I told you guys we're going to absolutely love him. It's just so refreshing. So, we love everything that he said. There's always in these episodes, we come back and just loop back with any points of clarity on things that we might want to give just a little bit more explanation to. So, the first thing that I want to unpack a little bit here is his fiber and protein goals. So, James gets very specific on hitting about 200, I think, to 220 grams of protein and about 30 grams of fiber a day. And he's also very transparent. This is my body and what helps me feel his best. So, that's probably a lot more protein than I would have because our bodies are different. They have different needs. So, just as he said, everything's individualized. We do have a blog post on how much protein do you need. It depends on your activity level. It depends on your muscle mass, right? There's so many different things that can play a role in that. So we will link that for you if you are curious. And then in terms of fiber, general fiber targets are about 25 to 30 grams a day. So this is actually pretty aligned. And we really do love his mindset on this because it's okay to have those numbers in mind. I know sometimes in the non diet space, it's oh, just listen to your body and all of this stuff. But, which, yes, that's true. But also, I love his approach on this is what my body needs to be supported because that makes it into a choice, right? He doesn't have to do any of this stuff. He wants to do it because he wants to support his body and he does it in a way that feels good to him. He says in the episode, I don't do anything that I don't want to do. And we love that. So just that outlook, I think, is really refreshing and a really good one. He takes creatine. We've talked about creatine many times here on the podcast and within the Luli blog post. We do have a full blog post on creatine, but it really is shown. It is highly, highly studied for things like muscle energy production, strength gains, muscle recovery, and also cognitive benefits. So if you want to learn more about that, we will link that for you. He also talks about a couple more supplements here, his pre-workout, and he uses a non-stimulant one. And he also says that once he takes it, he kind of has to do it. And there can be a lot of different things. If there is one with caffeine, it could be from the kind of like, okay, I feel like I energized. I have to get this energy out of me. But his is non-stimulant. So it's more so likely to be my body. And in knowing his mindset, this is probably going to make sense. And this is kind of how you can view it is I gave my body these building blocks. It makes sense to do my workout so that my body can use those things. Very, very practical guy, but we love it. It also could be a little bit of cueing, like psychological cueing and just the routine to it. We do also have a blog post on pre-workout supplements if you need one. Different types of what's in them. So we will link to that as well. And we also have another blog post on the next one, magnesium, which this is our podcast with Kelly Yu, is a mental health creator. She also talked about magnesium at night. So this is a very hot one and it makes sense. It is backed by research. So we will also link that below for you guys if you are curious on what type, how much to take and whatnot, but that is backed by science. And just a couple more points of clarity here. He does talk about his testosterone replacement therapy. He takes a topical solution to bring his levels into a normal range after years of metabolic dysregulation from his eating disorders. This is something that hormone imbalances, it's again going to be individualized per person, but that is a toll that can be taken on the body from years of whether it's a clinical eating disorder, whether it's disordered eating. Our bodies can kind of just get all out of whack from that. So as always, individual advice, talk to your provider, do it under the guidance of a provider, but getting just kind of baseline labs is a really great place to start. And again, like we mentioned in the episode, some people, their bodies can kind of like bounce back from those. Some people may have more long-term management that they need to do. It is highly individualized as everything. Sound like a broken record at this point with that, but that is something that can be seen. Then we just want to clarify, he talks about red meat and seafood frequencies and kind of why that is. So likely with the red meat, having that more so in moderation can be due to the higher typically saturated fat intake that can come with meats, especially or the fatty options. And then also seafood 2 to 3 times a week is typically recommended. And this is due to the different omega-3s, which support heart health and brain health. And there's a lot of credible dietary guidance that supports this as well. I will be honest, this is something I was just talking about with my husband. I was like, we should make a better point of incorporating seafood during the week. It's just something that I don't buy in the store myself that often. So maybe just take a little note. How often do I eat seafood? I think my favorite place to get seafood from, because it's so easy, is Hungry Root. I believe we do have a 40% off discount for that. If you haven't tried it, 40% off your groceries, but they just make it so easy. I know it's always going to be a very delicious source of protein. It's going to be, high quality. It's going to be easy to cook. So that's usually my go-to, but I don't necessarily do Hungry Root every week, just at 1 to 2 times a month, I guess, but something I want to work on myself in terms of incorporating it into meal planning each week. And the last thing we just want to clarify here is with his steps and his movement mindset, because he counts his steps as kind of like okay, this is what I need for the day. And again, when he says what I need for the day, we love that this is what I need to feel my best, right? And he even says, I make it happen when I can. But it's something he wants to do. It's not an obligation or something he has to do. It's I want to do this, so I'm going to make it a priority, right? And there are some things you can kind of start to gauge if you are someone who's not triggered by numbers. Okay, about this many steps makes me feel energized for the day. But it can also be as simple as, okay, I feel best when I get up in the middle of the day and take a walk or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be specifically those numbers. There's not necessarily anything wrong with having a, goal for that. It really just goes down to your personality and if that's something that's triggering to you, if you'd feel guilty or wrong for not meeting it, but it can be done in some of those other ways to help you feel your best. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. If you are not yet a part of the Luli community, be sure to do so. We will link that in the show notes for this as well. Let us know what your thoughts, any big takeaways from this episode, and if you continue to like these kind of day in the life ones that we've been doing, let us know. Or if you prefer more of the expert kind of tell me like it is with the science and the research type ones, or a mix, we'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, rate, review this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It truly means the world to us here. And again, if you're listening in the app, just hop on over to whatever platform is easiest for you. We thank you so much in advance for taking the time to do that. And we cannot wait to bring you another episode next week. Be sure to listen to that extended episode. If you're listening in the app, it'll be right in there. If not, you can hop over for that free 7-day trial and give it a listen. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. See you later.